Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was, thankfully, 2023 comes to a close. Will interest rates come down in 2024? So we're reporting on the numbers for December in our year-end numbers of the recording at the Plymouth County Register of Deeds. So let's go right to the numbers. So you can see a bar chart of deeds. The numbers were pretty low compared to the last couple of years. Only 553 deeds, which are sales of property in December, less than the 579 in November, 21% less than last December, and year-to-date for the whole of 2023 was down 19% for sales. You're going to see an image of all the sales from January to December for the 27 communities of Plymouth County. The town of Plymouth and the city of Brockton had the highest number of sales for those communities. And every single community, even the small town of Plimpton, had sales every month. You're also going to see a bar chart of mortgages. Mortgages have been the document most affected by higher interest rates. There were only 923 mortgages in December, less than the 1,032 in November, down 29% compared to last December, and year-to-date, mortgages recorded were down 36%. We always follow foreclosures very closely. As many people might remember, we had major problems in 2008 based upon some bad mortgages. But when COVID was with us, there was a foreclosure moratorium, so they're coming in very slowly. Only 8 foreclosure deeds in December, less than the 12 in November, but they're starting to crawl up again. So year-to-date, they're up 32%. You're going to see a bar chart of foreclosure notices. 33 foreclosure notices in December, less than the 43 in November, 27% less than last December, but 11% more year-to-date. Again, those are going to start to move up as lenders catch up. And then now you're going to see a listing of all the foreclosure deeds, which is when a lender takes back the property, in orders of notice that shows someone's in trouble. You see a lot of zeros there now, but if someone is facing difficulty with their mortgage, reach out to a federal housing counselor, and he may be able to modify your loan based upon your circumstances. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that there's a free fraud alert on our website. If you go to PlymouthDeeds.org, go to resources, you can sign up with your email, and if something gets recorded on your property, you'll get an email, and that lets you know something's been recorded. Maybe it's a discharge that you want to have recorded, but maybe it's something more nefarious, and you can stay on top of it. I have a great guest coming on in the next segment of the show, Bill Callahan of William Callahan Realty and Keller Williams Realty, talking about the current Plymouth County real estate market. And so we'll go to that segment and see you in that segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, appraisers, commercial real estate brokers, many people involved in the real estate community, and realtors are the people that are on the ground And I have a great realtor with me today, Bill Callahan of William Callahan Realty Group in Keller Williams Realty.
Correct.
Welcome back.
That's correct.
Great.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. So why don't we just start? I know you've been a visitor here before. How you got into the real estate business?
Needed a job. So I had left Knapp Shoe Company in 1986, joined my father in July of 86, got married of 86, 1986, August. And it was a struggle for a couple of years. I worked part-time, different place, and, but been doing it ever since 1986.
Great.
Long time ago.
And why don't you explain, you were Callahan Real Estate,
Yes,
and
yes.
now you're with a larger company.
Correct.
Why don't you
correct.
explain
So,
who they are?
It's a good question, and I want to answer that question because I was a sole proprietor. My father was a sole proprietor, as they all were back in 1952 when he started. The license law came in, I think, in like 65 or 6 or 7, something like that. To be a real estate broker, you had to have a license, or a sales associate, you had to get a license. And but there were a lot of small shops. Then you started seeing the franchises, Century 21, etc. So anyhow, fast forward to 2018. I was always very successful, but I found that I needed more support. I needed more of the social media, more of the technology, more back office support. And I'd always had a person working for me, but I didn't have the right person. I needed someone that had all those things. And it was getting a little lonely up there, honestly, by myself on Oak Street. People would say, well, I don't see anybody there. So I thought a brand, some type of a brand would help me. So joining Keller Williams in Easton at their headquarters on 138 changed my whole career.
Okay.
It really was. So I had their brand. I had all their back office staff that I didn't have to do all that stuff. And I had, there's help there for the social media side of things, which I didn't have to do. I don't want to learn that. I pay for someone to do it by the transaction. And it's worked out terrific, John. It really has worked out great.
That's great.
Extended my career, so to speak,
So I did a show recently with the new president of the South Shore Realtors.
Oh.
And they made a point that you've made many times about the importance of being a realtor.
Correct.
And the Code of Ethics, why don't you let our viewers know?
Who was the president?
Michelle Cox is the new president.
Okay.
She works for Jack Conway.
Yeah, the president before Michelle was a Keller Williams agent from our office.
Oh, wow.
But I'll make the case for it. The largest private trade association in the country, in the United States of America. And we're going through some things right now people may know about. We won't get too deep in it, but there's a lawsuit. But the realtors are front and center representing all of us. And I forget the number. I just be guessing. I think there's a couple million realtors across the country. It's a wild guess. But we subscribe to continuing education. More importantly, we subscribe to a code of ethics. And you have to take that code of ethics. It's every 4 years you have to renew. You have to take a new updated code of ethics class. So we're really, and you have to live by the code of ethics. Another realtor could bring action against me if I didn't treat them properly. So if you want to be a professional, you should be a realtor.
Yeah, I know you've spoke about that on a number of shows and make it very clear, the difference.
I've been past president of the Bristol County Board twice, 2011 and 2015. And then I was part of the merger from the Bristol County Board to the New Bedford Board, which is now Realtor Association Southeastern Mass. We have 2,000 members in Southeastern Mass that are realtors. I served on the board of directors in a new organization. Now I serve on a community services committee. But I've been active since, my father was active in the Realtor Association, and I've been active since I started selling real estate.
So I really believe that realtors are the best people on the ground to know what is going on in the real estate market. You're at it every day. You're doing open houses. You're talking to buyers and sellers. So what is the state of our real estate market in the middle of January 2024?
Well, I knew you were going to ask, and I'm not going to read word for word, but I got this text, and we spent a lot of time with each other, helping each other, our realtor group, and especially in Keller Williams too. So this is a report from the Banker and Tradesman, came out today. So in December, there was only 3,000 houses sold in the Commonwealth of Mass. Last year, 40,000 houses, 40,000 single-family houses in 12 months in the whole year. The least amount of sales since 2011. It's a little tough out there.
Yeah, we see that in our recordings.
Yes. The prices are going up. So we have this same market that's a very restricted market, very competitive, and very frustrating for a lot of buyers, especially first-time buyers. We talked about that a few minutes ago. So it's going to be tough going into this year. I'm not sure we're going to get a lot more listings than we did last year because rates are higher, so people aren't going to take, I'll put my house in the market and move. Well, they're not going to move for 7 or 8%. Go to a new house at a higher rate.
Right.
So it's going to be a struggle, tough.
So obviously there are people that are cash buyers, people that have never had a mortgage coming into the marketplace that don't know about the years of the 14 to 18%, but still think this is high because they've been brought up on threes.
Yeah.
How do we move forward?
Well, the cash buyers, that's a kind of a particular group that they've probably been through a lot of transactions to, get that bundle of cash. Right. Correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, and I preach this all the time, especially to the younger generation. Don't get frustrated with this thing. Dig in and learn about it. Understand it. So the rates, we're expecting the rates. I talked with Jeff Mankowski today. He's a mortgage broker over for Mortgage Equity Partners. And he's saying they're going to be low 6s by summer, which that's better. I think my daughter got in at 5.9, 5.8 or something like that. So they're going to be competitive, and they're going to be coming down. That will be the trend. And that may help the inventory issue, somewhat. But the idea is to get in and learn the market, understand it, watch the market. Watch what stuff sells for. Be aware of what that house, if you drove by the house 10 times, you see a sold sign, find out what it sold for if it's in your neighborhood.
So I ran into someone today and told them that you were my guest today.
Yeah.
And they said to ask your opinion of whether the changes in accessory dwelling units will make any difference in inventory.
It's going to make a difference. Not so much in inventory, but housing itself.
Okay.
Okay? So I got a big house, 2,500 square feet. I could stay in that house. I could build an accessory unit for myself or from an unrelated person, as long as I'm the owner of the house. Okay? And I could move into that unit, and then I could sell my house to my daughter or that family, a family. Any one of my 4 daughters, right? So I don't have to go anywhere else, and there's an incentive for me to move out of the big space with just 2 of us into a smaller space that's under 1,000 square feet, and a family takes over the big house.
Easier way to downsize.
Right.
Yeah.
I know this is causing consternation in the market all over the country. Okay, in California, it's causing a lot of trouble, consternation. And there's an article on the front page of the Boston Globe about Milton. And Middleborough is doing the same thing. There's a lot of cities and towns that are going to fight it. Brookline, by the way, passed it. This is the Mass Communities MBTA bill, which is forcing towns to have a new overlay district, okay, whether they have an MBTA or they neighbor a town. So this is coming because we just can't build enough apartments. And Braintree last 2 months ago, they voted down a number of times 300 different apartments, a complex with 300 apartments. And that's a great town for commuting to Boston. If you read about any of these major towns, cities and towns, How does the workforce get there? Where do they live to work in Boston?
Right.
You can't afford to live in Quincy, Braintree, Canton. How do you afford to live there? You can't do it. It's coming.
Yeah, interesting. So if you were speaking to a person that was considering putting their home in the market, what would you advise them to do in this current marketplace?
Well, I sat with a gentleman today.
Yeah.
I won't mention his name, but he's getting ready to go on. He's going to go on about February. And we're getting out clean, clean, clean. I've said this on your show, and I stick by it. Empty the house out. You know, I have names of guys that'll empty it out. You empty it out. There's only 3 things to do. Sell it, donate it, throw it out.
Yeah.
Get rid of stuff, because if you've been in a house 20 years, you got stuff you don't need. And then we paint it a little bit. We do some landscaping. We make it inviting. First impressions. People get out of the car to walk to your house. They don't want to see trash and pipes hanging off the outside of the house. You know, we've got to dress it up. And in this market, if you do that, you will get a great price for it. You'll get paid back.
Right. Yeah, it seems like our prices were higher last year than the year before.
Yeah.
Some places they're going down, but in Plymouth County they're still going up.
But
Overall.
If it looks shabby and not unkept and things, there's a bad impression right away. And in the first, second, third people, if it sits there for a month, now it gets stale.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend a lot of money. I'm not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, but you can spend a little bit of money and fix it up and really help yourself.
And if I'm out there watching this show and I want to buy a home, get on price appreciation.
Yes.
Bring in value to your money.
Yeah.
What would you be doing, advising buyers?
2 things for a buyer. You want to meet with a loan officer, whether it's at a bank or a mortgage company, and maybe 2, so you get a little different opinion. You want to know the rate, and you want to know what the closing costs are, and you want a list of what those are. So they're identified, not just $5,000. You know, they'll provide you with a list showing you the fees that are involved. And get familiar with that process. What could I afford today, at 8%? What can I afford at 6%? So get familiar with that. And then maybe get a name of 1 or 2 realtors and talk to them. You don't have to sign anything. Don't sign anything.
Yeah.
Just talk to them. And then, try to get more educated. And find somebody you relate to. Find a person that's not a friend, can be a friend, but you relate to as a professional in this career. Yes.
So you're kind of an expert for first-time home buyers. I had your daughter on this show months ago,
Yes.
who was a tremendous advocate for the process of buying a home as a young person.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to people watching this show that's a potential first-time home buyer?
Well, she bought a house that needed work.
Yeah.
And we talked it out, what it needed. Very clear, very specific, okay? And I said, well, okay, you can do these first, you can do those later. So if the house does need a little work, don't be afraid of it. You don't have to pay top dollar for somebody that just put a fresh coat of paint. Know the market. And if it needs some work, you can do some work. I'm amazed at the work she's done. So have an open mind. Come as a first-time buyer, have an open mind. Location is very important. She's in a dead-end neighborhood. Is it near a highway where you can get to work? Those types of things. So be open-minded. Again, you're going to speak to a professional. Look at some houses. Go to some open houses and get an idea of what. You'd be surprised. Some people how they're not prepared to have their house in the market, and the people that are prepared, and what does it look like. So I would get engaged in it, the financial side as well, learn that, keep checking with somebody and saying, okay, where am I today?
So it's always amazing to me, and I always bring it up in a conversation with realtors, and you made the move to go with a different organization,
Yeah.
in part because of the changes in technology.
Correct.
So talk about the changes in technology over your time.
Boy, oh boy. Well, we didn't even, we didn't even have a copier. We went through a couple of copiers, then a fax machine, and now generations of computers.
Yeah.
And there's so many new things that I'm learning.
Yeah.
And how to market properties. It used to be put a sign in the front yard, put an ad in the paper, but now there's so many. Social media has changed our market our selling the house
Yeah.
drastically.
Yeah. So the speed that it happens is amazing to me.
Transactions.
The
Yeah.
fact that nobody touches a paper document
Yeah.
is amazing to me.
90 days in the old days. 90 days to do a deal. Now it's 45.
Wow.
And I can have you sign a contract on this from my phone to you, to your phone. Sign a contract to purchase. Might be 15 pages, and you can sign it right on your phone, right? I don't have to get out of my chair.
It's amazing. Yeah, right. So last minute, tell the people where you think, from your years of experience, where you think the market's going to go as we head into the spring market,
Yeah.
and then over the course of the year.
Well, I think I think the inflation seems to be a bit in control. The job market's still strong, and job market is key to this whole thing. If
Yeah.
people aren't working, we're in trouble. And so I think it's going to be steady. And if the interest rates loosen a little bit, then we get some more product. But that's the key. We need affordable housing. $500,000-$600,000, is not a first-time buyer house. So hopefully that will soften a little bit and bring more people into the market. And the boomers got to move on.
Well, I know one thing you've always said is for people to stick with it.
Yes.
And if you're not getting a good result at first, try again.
It's not going to happen tomorrow. It could happen in the fall of 24. It could happen in the summer of 25. But don't quit. Home ownership is the biggest thing in the United States of America. And we all want to have our own home, our own place. Mm-hmm. So don't quit on it. Stay involved. Stay engaged.
Great. Once again, thank you for your wisdom and your advice. And I hope we have a good new year. Last year was a little off compared to what we've usually done in terms of numbers and activities. But I hope this year is the year it starts to turn around.
We need 60,000 sales.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for being on the show. So I want to thank Bill Callahan for the great job he did describing the current state of the real estate market. We talk a little bit about what's going on for buyers and sellers, and that it's a slow market, low inventory, high cost of property. But like everything, real estate is cyclical, and we'll see that changing at some point. We don't know exactly when. So we like to talk about some of our holidays for the month. New Year's Day on the 1st, National Milk Day on the 11th, Martin Luther King Day the 15th, National Pie Day the 23rd, and other holidays for the month. And we're going to go right into a couple of our great Plymouth County history, starting with the Liberty Tree. So the Liberty Tree is a tree that was on the site of Edward Bennett in downtown Brockton, and it was a stop on the Underground Railroad, people escaping to Canada from the perils of slavery in the South. He risked his life and his freedom to help these people and avoided catchers of slave. He was considered a conductor on the Underground Railroad, and he tried to promote the high ideals in the belief that all men were created equal, certainly something we celebrate on Martin Luther King's birthday. The Liberty Tree itself was many centuries old. It was a sycamore tree, and it was used as a marker, a signpost for people to find and hide in a barn on Edward Bennett's property. And then they moved on to another site in the years prior to the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. City of Brockton renamed High Street to Frederick Douglass Way. The tree was damaged in a storm, but there's a plaque there and a new tree growing on that site. The next county record is, as this is National Milk Day month, Skim Milk Bridge. A lot of people don't know much about it. It is a crossing between Bridgewater and West Bridgewater. It's on a roadway that was disconnected by the county commissioners. It was a bridge that was a launching point for farm products sent around the world. It was a dry stone constructed bridge built without mortar or concrete, and it is probably from large stones dragged there by oxen during the winter. And what the story is with the bridge is when the water goes through that area, it churns up white silt, and it looks like it's white skim milk. If you haven't been there, it's on Maple Street. It is a place you can park and walk on a trail that's part of the Mass Wildlife Trail from Scotland Street in Bridgewater. Again, a small parking area. It's part of the Bay Circuit Trail, and it's something, even if you haven't done that, it's a pretty interesting place to go. And last but not least is another one of our Plymouth County notable records, a beautiful spot in Norwell, abutting the North River, includes a mill pond and boathouse. Near Norwell Center, it was a gift of land donated by Eleanor Norris in memory of her husband to the trustees of reservation. The two met while skating at the former Boston Arena and dated for years before marrying. After Albert had been dead for 6 years, they'd acquired property where he cut timber, cleared brush, and cart paths. Eleanor had a great love of science and ecology, so she thought that was a great thing to do for the community. So she donated 100 acres to the trustees of reservation. If you have not gone there for a walk, do so. And last but not least, we always, since the Plymouth Pilgrim 400, the celebration of the 400th anniversary of the colony, have talked a little bit about some of our Plymouth colony records. This one is about if anybody had cattle, sheep, cows, or pigs, and they wandered onto somebody else's property, and they usually did, and they destroyed the gardens, if they were not removed promptly, the owner of the property could actually have an auction, sell that animal, and use the proceeds to pay the damages of the property, and if there were excess proceeds, return that to the owner of the animal. This part of the colonial records also abolished horse racing within the colony. If someone had a horse race, they were either fined 5 shillings, or if they didn't have the money, they were put in the stocks for an hour. And this section of the law also had each town put out 2 wolf traps. Wolves were part of the scenery back then and made the place a little more dangerous, so they would pay a stipend to anyone, both the colonists or the native people, that would catch wolves and bring them in and hang them up after they were executed. There were very strict penalties. It was a very strict lifestyle back in the 1600s, but the story of the colonists during that era. They carried a lot of their laws over from England, and they had very strict society because they had to follow all these rules to keep themselves alive. We have the second story of the registry, the Plymouth Colony Records, that people can come and visit by appointment. I encourage you to do so. So I want to thank Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards for helping me put this show together. I want to thank Michelle Hebsche and the folks here at Brockton Cable Access. This is my first show in 2024, but it's my 159th show here at Brockton Cable Access. So have a great month. We'll see you in February.